Oh, goody.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marble Snap video. So in this one, we are taking a look at the best decks for the new location that is dropping tonight, Vormir. So Vormir says the first card you play here is destroyed. So unsurprisingly, I am expecting we are going to see a lot of destroyed decks running around. So let's take a look through the decks for the different pools that I think will do pretty well with this location. Starting out, we have two decks for Pool 1, a Odin deck and a Zoo deck. Both pretty straightforward stuff here, just some good synergies to go along with Odin, White Tiger, Gamora, other good on reveal effects. A lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy here, which is always kind of fun. Ironheart and Wolfsbane also get pretty big. And then we can use things like Jessica to help close out another location with Nightcrawler and Angela for some added flexibility. Definitely just pretty straightforward deck, but should get the job done in Pool 1. Next up, the other best deck available in Pool 1 is going to be your standard Khazar Zoo deck. Now, you could tech this one for the location if you really wanted to, but in Pool 1, there isn't really much benefit from things being destroyed or destroyed targets, so I don't think that's going to matter too much playing around the location. But if you need to play into it, you could always drop one of your cheap 1-drops in as a sacrifice. Then it lets you play the location, but pretty straightforward stuff here, just a ton of 1-drops. Half our deck is 1-drops. Then just some value 2-drops. Angela, Star-Lord, again, armor. Lets us play into the lane, so it's a nice little bonus there. But you could put any other really decent mid-range or just tech card in here. Bishop benefits from the 1-drops, and then Khazar and Blue Marvel buff our stuff. Just a generally solid build of Zoo in Pool 1. As we enter Pool 2 here, we have an upgrade for our Zoo deck. This is a pretty significant upgrade to the deck, even though it is only a few new cards. But this is a Pool 2 deck that I think can even be useful if you're just entering Pool 3 and don't have any super synergistic cards or decks together just yet. I think it's one of the best Zoo decks out there and is pretty criminally underplayed. So it's the strong guy version of Zoo. Again, all of our cheap 1-drops, but we have some added good cards from Pool 2, such as Sunspot, Iceman, and obviously Strong Guy himself. So all good additions to the deck there. Korg is also nice for some disruption, just generally good Zoo stuff. You might notice we do not have armor here. You could swap armor into this deck. To do that, I'd probably just cut one of our 1-drops. It really depends what you think is the weakest, but to me it'd probably be either between Squirrel Girl or Rocket Raccoon, depending on your preference. You want to fit armor in there. But yeah, generally just very good Zoo deck. You just want to be kind of mindful of dumping your hand out so that your strong guy is always going to get value on the final turn. And we have Blade here just in case we aren't able to play all of our cards, but generally you will be able to just dump our hand out and get that value. So that's our Pool 2 Zoo deck. Let's take a look at another deck we have in Pool 2. Our second Pool 2 deck here is a Devil Dinosaur variant that seeks to use a small destroy package just to kind of get a little bit of value. But really all we're doing is pretty standard Devil Dino stuff. We're just adding in Bucky as well as Carnage just for the destroy effects. Carnage just in case we don't get the location where it's not optimal to play into it like that. Other than that, pretty standard Dino list. We do have the Storm Jessica package, which I think is always nice for shutting down a lane. Even shut down the location if you can't play to it. And we have things that generate stuff to our hand, as well as some payoff for things being generated. Moon Girl can get us the double dino. Chavez gives us consistency. White Queen gives us an alternate win condition and information. And Cosmo just as a good general shutdown kind of tech card. Entering Pool 3 here, we have a Deadpool deck. Now, unsurprisingly, any location with a free death effect is going to be very good for Deadpool. So we're going to take a look here at the deck we have for him. Pretty standard Deadpool deck here. We just have a lot of things that like our destroy effects, like the Hood, Nova, Bucky, Carnage, And then we have ways to buff our death pool. So we have Forge to buff him up, as well as Hulkbuster to make him large. So that way, when we drop him in the free destroy effect, we're going to get a pretty big dead pool. Or we can do that before, play this after, blow him up again. Just generally accelerating the dead pool is the way we're going about winning a lot of the time. So we have a lot of destroy effects in here as well, just to make sure we're always doubling that dead pool if possible. Taskmaster lets us get more value out of the dead pool and can be played with him on the final turn. And then Death, because we're going to be blowing up a lot of stuff, and presumably with the location, our opponents are going to try to do that as well. Next up, we have a deck that I'm sure many of you and myself are very familiar with, probably a little bit too familiar at this point. It's the Leech Leader deck. So obviously, this is going to be a location where people want to be playing their Death Destroy decks a bunch. And what beats that, especially the wave variants of those decks? Leech Leader. So I don't think there's too much to say about this deck. If you have played Ladder at all in the last week or so, you've probably ran into it before. It's a very powerful deck and really does a lot to shut down those big turn 6 plays. On top of that, it is just a really good option against like the wave element of Death Wave, since it really shuts down their big finishing turn. So just a really strong kind of mid-range deck. Obviously has Leader as its own finisher option. Leader is pretty busted right now. Arrow and Magneto for the good movement. Shang-Chi some good tech, especially since we'll probably be seeing Death. Leech shuts off Death, as well as just really any big turn 6 play for the most part. And then we just have good mid-range cards here. The Thor, Lizard, Sunspot, Scorpion, etc. It's just a very good deck. It does get kind of annoying to face after a while, especially with the Leader wins, but I think if Death Wave is going to be popular, which I definitely see that being a thing, this deck is probably going to become popular again too. Another deck that I think will be pretty useful in this location for Pool 3 is our Captain Marvel control deck. Played this a few days ago on stream and have a video up about it. It's just a really solid deck. And we already had a small destroy package, so being able to get our destroy effects a bit more consistently, because this deck really isn't built around it. Honestly, our only major destroy effects here are Carnage and Killmonger. So the fact that we can consistently hit our destroy effects even if we don't draw our destroy cards probably makes this deck a bit better, and it was already pretty good. It's just a solid mid-range deck with a little bit of tech included, but if you enjoy the kind of play your cards out, have Captain Marvel help you win the game kind of style of gameplay, this is probably a good one to pick for this location. I mentioned Death Wave decks before and figured we would feature one here, as I think it is going to be a very popular archetype that is going to be showing up for this location. This is a pretty standard, more recent build. Does have the inclusion of She-Hulk. The combo is really powerful when you can get it off. However, it really depends how much Leech Leader is going around, as this very much is a deck that is trying to pop off on the final turn a lot of the time. That's why we have a leader of our own, as well as Death and Wave to limit what the opponents can play. And then just your standard regular destroy package. A lot of good destroy cards here, help get our Death cheaper and can benefit from the location. And then just Arrow for a little bit of movement shenanigans. Still a really good deck, and now that Leech Leader is a little bit less popular than it was earlier this week, I think it is starting to come back. I think people are going to bring it for this, so you might see the Leech Leader coming back out, but it definitely seems like a solid deck. If there is a lot of Leech Leader though, and you're looking for a way to counter it, I think the Shuri deck here is a really good option. This one is really focused around some powerful tech cards and just making some really big stuff. So we have a lot of stuff that benefits from this Shuri. The main things are going to be things like Black Panther, Arrow, and Red Skull, though occasionally I have gotten it off with Chavez as well. But this is really a deck focused around making a big thing with Shuri. We also have Zero as kind of a backup plan to remove a negative effect, such as Maximus or Cosmo. Then we have our tech cards here with Armor and Cosmo, just to shut down some opposing game plans and keep our stuff protected. And Taskmaster is really good when we can double big power things like Black Panther or Red Skull. So this one's really solid, especially against leader, as a lot of the times we'll be finishing with Taskmaster, and our Taskmaster will pretty much always be bigger than the one they copy. Up next, we have a upgrade to the Devil Dinosaur deck. This one is using mostly some Pool 3 additions, but there is one Pool 4 one in She-Hulk, who does seem to be doing very good in this style of deck. But pretty standard Dino stuff here. We want ways of generating more cards into our hand. So we have things like Sentinel, Moon Girl, and White Queen for that. This one is a bit less focused on all the card generation though, as we do have some other good packages in here, like Storm and alternate ways to play into the Storm lane, things like Doctor Doom. Quinjet is an MVP in this one because whether it is making our Sentinels cheaper or the stuff we duplicate off of Moon Girl or White Queen, it enables some pretty silly things like pass with turn 5 with Sunspot, being able to slam down a She-Hulk for 1, a copy for 0, and another big 6-drop like our Doctor Doom here or a Devil Dinosaur. So just very powerful deck overall, and I think it also is packing enough tech to shut down some of the other popular decks that'll be popping up for this location. And the final deck we'll be looking at here is a Mr. Negative Silver Surfer deck. So there are a lot of different shells you could run Surfer in right now, and he's pretty good in most of them, especially negative as well as Sarah decks. But this is the one I wanted to feature for it. Kind of cool, you can use the location to your advantage here potentially by just burning your Mr. Negative in that location, so you don't get the -1. This could be an exception if you happen to draw Bast and make it a 3 power, but that's not happening all the time, even though it's cool when it does. Mr. Negative, especially the Sarah version and the, all the versions with Surfer care a lot about board space, so being able to actually get rid of this Mr. Negative on the board might be pretty beneficial sometimes, helping you win the game. Other than that, it's a pretty standard Surfer list. I like going the Psylocke route, but I know some people prefer Forge in this slot, but I think Psylocke's great for getting you a extra negative draw sometimes by being able to cheat him out on turn 3. Other than that, we just have a lot of powerful stuff that's good when flipped, and majority 3-drops here, as we want the most benefit off the Surfer we can get. So we have Ironheart, Mystique, obviously Surfer, Brood really busted with the Surfer, just 9 power across the 3 bodies is pretty crazy. Rogue is really good against the ongoing decks, or if you happen to run into some mirrors. And then Bishop, this is kind of a flex spot in my opinion. He's good off of the negative flip though, so I do like that about him. But you could consider a few different options here, like Wolfsbane. You could also consider another 3-drop in this deck in place of Angela. I've liked Angela for the most part, but I'm not sure if she is going to be the best card for this deck. It is cool getting the 0-cost 2 power, and that has been nice sometimes. But in a deck so focused around Silver Surfer, I wouldn't blame me if you want to toss in another good 3-drop here. But that is all the decks we have here for the new location, Vormir. This one is going to be like all the other new locations. It's dropping tonight, and it will be around for the next 2 days at a 40% appearance rate. I'll be streaming some games with this location tonight, so if you want to check that out, the Twitch link is in the description. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.